Hello, welcome to this tropical update. So we have many new updates, important updates to share for parts of the Pacific, Western Pacific, and the Atlantic as well. So let's start in the Eastern Pacific because we remember Tropical Storm Loena that we talked about a few days ago that we were like uncertain where it would head. So it turns out it did head west, like northeast towards the Baja California Peninsula. It turned into a hurricane yesterday, but then already weakened to tropical storm today. So here there's some like key messages about it. It's still forecast to like head towards the Baja California, but a few days ago it was forecast to still be a storm or a depression and after it passes the Baja. But now that has changed. Now it might dissipate before it crosses into mainland Mexico. So it shows it's a tropical storm now, might weaken to a depression by tomorrow or even Saturday, and then dissipate. But there are some tropical storm warnings in the Baja California Peninsula, mainly for some tropical storm conditions in wind gusts. So still be careful in those areas, especially because of flooding and some rainfall, because across Mexico it could produce some areas of 50 to 150 millimeters in a few areas, even close to 200 millimeters in a spot or two. So please be aware, and especially like Western Mexico and the Baja as well. So here they do say heavy rainfall associated with Loena will continue to impact the Baja California Sur and Sonora through Friday. This will increase the risk of life-threatening flash floods and mudslides across northwestern Mexico. Moisture from Loena will contribute to heavy rainfall concerns across Arizona, New Mexico through Saturday, and isolated to scary instances of flash flooding possible across Arizona Saturday. In the center of Loena, forecast to move parallel to but offshore the coastals of the Baja California Peninsula through tonight, where it could move closer to central west coast peninsula, where it weakens on Friday tomorrow. And tropical storm conditions, mainly gusts, are likely across parts of the Baja California Peninsula Sur through Friday, where tropical storm warnings in effect. Life-threatening surf and rip currents also expected across the coast of Baja California Sur next couple of days. So stay safe in those areas, especially like the heavy rain threat. So let's see, la fuerte lluvia asociada con Loena continuará impactando Baja California Sur y Sonora hasta viernes y esto aumentará el riesgo de inundaciones repentinas, deslizamientos de tierra que amenazan la vida a través del noreste de México. La humedad de Loena contribuirá a precipitaciones de lluvias fuertes en Arizona y Nuevo México, en los Estados Unidos el sábado. Instancias aisladas dispersas de inundaciones repentinas são possíveis en Arizona sábado y se pronostica que el centro de Loena se mueva paralelo, pero en alta mar a la costa sueste de la Baja California hasta esta noche y luego podría desplazarse más cerca de la costa oeste centro-sur de la península mientras se debilita el viernes. Las condiciones de tormenta tropical, principalmente ráfagas de viento, son probables a lo largo de las porciones de costa de Baja California Sur hoy y el viernes, donde hay aviso de tormenta tropical y precauciones con la mala mar, también y corrientes peligrosas. So stay safe in those areas. Please be careful and warn others. And we have another developing news in the Pacific. There's Hurricane Kiko, Category 4 now. It will weaken to a Category 3, but still shows a major hurricane likely until Sunday. And here's the thing, here's Hawaii, so it might approach Hawaii eventually. Some models were closer, some models were further away, but it might just curve north of Hawaii or go into Hawaii, but there'll be cooler waters and more wind shear, so it won't hit too hard, but if it does, it will be likely a strong tropical storm, so please be monitoring this, but it might just pass north of you if it curves out. So be aware. And there's still some key messages. Forecast Kiko is forecast to approach the Hawaiian Islands during the early to middle part of next week. The risk of direct impacts of wind and rainfall is increasing, but however, it's too soon to determine the exact location magnitude of these impacts. Interest there should continue to monitor the progress of the storm. So be aware there in Hawaii, just monitor this closely. And now there's this thing in the Atlantic. Invest 91L. A broad area of low pressure has formed along a tropical wave over the eastern tropical Atlantic, and recent satellite images suggest the system continues to slowly become better organized short-term storm activity along its eastern periphery. Environmental conditions are favorable for additional development in the system. Tropical depression likely to form this week, and this moves slowly west toward 10 to 15 miles per hour across the eastern central tropical Atlantic. Interest in the Lesser Antilles and Leeward Islands to monitor the progress of the system as it approaches from the east by the middle next week. So the models are kind of taking this further west, approaching the Caribbean, but there's also a trend for it to curve north of the Caribbean. So let's see here. There's invest 91W, WL in the Atlantic, so 91L. The GFS ensembles are kind of the mean is passing north of the Caribbean, but there are some members going right into the Caribbean. So better monitor closely the global plus hurricane models. If I don't know if they have it here today. They had it a while ago, but here there's the intensity guidance. And if it approaches the Caribbean later next week, it might be or a strong tropical storm or a hurricane already. So some models already intensifying this in a quick pace. Not too concerning, but it's kind of concerning if it goes directly into the islands. So please monitor it, and especially if you are in those islands there. So the recent model run of the European did show like uh, this forming, and then this takes some time, but it does show by the middle part of next week, like Tuesday the 9th, it already forms, Wednesday, and this run is not going north. As you can see, this run is just north of Barbados, so the European wants this thing to go into the Caribbean. The 0Z shows like it goes head first into those islands, into the Virgin Islands as well, and then into the Bahamas, and don't look at the rest because these models just get crazy many hours out. So don't worry now, I'm just showing you some possibilities. And then there's the European 12Z from yesterday. It also showed this going into the Caribbean, but then dissipating later in Hispaniola. So the run today is more aggressive because it takes it all the way into the Bahamas. But the GFS, for contrast, it does form it, and it kind of takes a similar track into the Caribbean, curves in the Virgin Islands, and right into the Bahamas and Florida and the Carolinas. But the GFS is kind of drunk too. So there's the icon, it shows like let's see if it shows something worth telling. So it does curve north of the Caribbean because this track here will likely just curve northwest. So the icon is giving you some hope, but there's the Canadian model shows like develops, and by the 10th it appears there and curves north as well. So there's still a possibility for this to go north, but both the European and the GFS want a direct hit as of now, but things change. This is still a week out, so don't panic. And the European until the 15th of September, it does have this clear track of rain accumulation. That might be extremely heavy if it crosses you, but still, if it goes north of you, this won't affect you that much. Just in rip currents and strong winds. So please be monitoring it, warn others that this might come your way, and get the word out and be ready. But don't panic yet because this might skip you and go northwest. Just be aware. So shows like even before it arrives, there it shows some showers and thunderstorms scattered as usual this time of year. So always be careful. The lingering frontal boundary across Florida, the Bahamas, with some heavier storms still, and some regular late summer storms across Cuba, Hispaniola, and like those afternoon and evening storms. Be careful and across Mexico, spots Central America, some tropical downpours into South America. So stay safe from flash flooding always. And the European shows tropical storm Loena, with upwards of 100 millimeters northwestern Mexico, especially on the coast, 153, and more areas, some flooding. So stay safe in Mexico, get the word out about possible flooding too. So stay safe, And the US does show excessive rainfall, a slight risk, right? Today, Thursday in Arizona, in California, those areas, be careful with any wildfires because the lightning strikes in California and a marginal in Florida. Day 2, another slight in Arizona to New Mexico as the moisture from Loena comes in. Day 3 marginal, day 4 slight in Texas, and day 5 nothing. So stay safe there as well because of this moisture. Also showing the Pacific Northwest more and a lot in Florida, 5 days, 7 days, more than 5 inches. And some rain across Canada as well, especially in Quebec, Ontario. Might be some fronts, a few storms. So stay safe. Now shifting the eyes to Asia, there's still like tropical storm. This new tropical storm in Japan, it's called Peipa. So tropical storm Peipa, it's here in Japan now. It's not too organized because it has land interaction, but it's bringing some very heavy rains to central Japan and those areas. So be careful with damaging winds and heavy rains in those areas in Japan. And also two disturbances near the Philippines, 96W and 97W. This one is relatively new, so be careful in those areas for heavy rainfall as usual. But those does show in the Western Pacific there's a disturbance north of the Philippines. It tries to develop in the South China Sea, and the GFS does take a low-end tropical storm into southern China by the September 8th. So just know you might have something in southern China, maybe a weak tropical storm. And then later it does try to spin up some low pressures near southern Japan, but still too far out. There's the European too, like 0Z might be better. So shows the disturbances there, and they kind of merge, but especially in West 97W in the South China Sea might try to go as a depression or storm into China, even affect some other parts of Southeast Asia, some heavy rain. So the European shows exactly that. The rain accumulation, more than 200 millimeter spots southern China, and more than 100, close to 200, the western, northwestern shore of the Philippines. So stay safe from flooding, and also into Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, and as usual, and Laos. Be careful some tropical downpours. Stay safe from lightning, gusty winds, but especially flooding in the Himalayan footsteps in northeastern India, spots close to 200 millimeters, northern Myanmar, and those areas. But there's another concerning situation across southern Pakistan and northwestern India. If this comes to fruition, there might be some very dangerous flooding once again in southern Pakistan and northwestern India next 5 days. The GFS shows less, but it does show close to 100 spots southern Pakistan and more than 300 northwestern India. So the icon show like 100 to 300 spots right by Pakistan and India, and you saw how deadly those floods were in Pakistan throughout this whole year. So please warn others there and be careful in northwestern India too, and the rest of the Southeast Asia area with tropical downpours, including Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, in those areas, Malaysia, some showers and storms, and central China. There's a trend for some downpours, central China, and those fronts in Russia as usual, and storms in the Caucasus might come with gusty winds and hail. So stay safe and be careful. And also monitor the temperatures in your area with your local forecast across Russia, some colder weather, Mongolia, and still quite strong heat wave in the Middle East still, but not as bad as it was. It's much better now, but still very hot in a few locations. But comparing this to July, it's quite a relief, but still more than 40 degrees in a few areas. So stay safe, warn others. Some snow across Siberia, spots near Mongolia, Tian Shan Mountains and Himalayas too. In North America, mainly northern Alaska's, the mountains in Alaska. The European shows a finger or two in the Rockies, but very little. The GFS, some different areas. We can't go into much detail today, but also be mindful of some severe storms today, September 4th, some damaging winds and some hail, still spots in the Midwest, the Appalachians, and even to the Northeast. But especially tomorrow, slight risk from Kentucky to Ohio, West Virginia, Tennessee, and this marginal from Texas to Pennsylvania, with some tornado threat in Kentucky, the surrounding areas, some damaging winds and hail. So be careful with those storms and stay safe as well. So stay safe.